Well, today we are diving into the detox you didn't know you needed. And maybe you do know that you need this one, actually. Maybe you do know that social media use is a thing for you and that possibly you need to pivot in some ways to make it healthier in your life. And I think we're going to hear some really fresh insight on this topic today, both for us as like individually for us ourselves, but also for our kids and how we can journey together and how we can come alongside each other because we all need to be healthy. I mean, I even, been hearing a lot about elder addiction with social media. And so this is something that's impacting all of our brains. And we just need to keep talking about it over and over and over again because we forget and we have to remind ourselves. And today we brought on one of the experts, our friend, our dear friend, Allie Marie Smith. She is an award-winning author, speaker, podcast host, and life coach. She's also the founder and CEO of Wonderfully Made, a national nonprofit organization dedicated to helping girls and women know their God-given value and identity. She lives in Santa Barbara County, where she really does write and she plays with horses. She surfs. If you follow her on Instagram, you're going to see surfing pictures, which I always love. And she's just incredible. She's an incredible woman and a deep soul. And you can find her at alliemariesmith.com. And we're just so excited, Allie, to have you talking about this today.
Thank you so much for having me. And I just have to tell you both how much I treasure you and how special you are to me. The way you show up so faithfully and selflessly for thousands of women is so beautiful. And you're just hard to find women. And I'm just honored to be here today. And well, first, let's celebrate 500 episodes. Is that right?
I know. Yes.
That is incredible. That is incredible. And so, friends, if you haven't yet given the podcast a review, if you haven't yet shared it with all the women in your life, please do so because I know you both tirelessly, work so hard and the content you have is just so valuable. So
oh my gosh, Allie. See, this is Allie. This is Allie, friends, that we introduce her and then she turns around and blesses us. And this is who she is. Allie, thank you. That was so kind. So kind. Well, let's just start by, I was thinking about this actually as I was, we're just preparing for your interview and I was on the plane and I was like, okay, this is like Diet Coke. I know Diet Coke is bad for me. And yet when the lady comes by, it's not always a lady, sometimes it's a man, but when the flight attendant comes by and asks me what I want, I always have this internal battle of what I really want is Diet Coke, but what I should order is sparkling water. So most of the time I order sparkling water, but every once in a while I'm like, no, I want the Diet Coke. Give me the Diet Coke. And here's the thing. Sometimes I just want Diet Coke, even though I know it's really bad for my body. And I feel like social media is the same way. We know cognitively that there are things about social media that harm us, and yet we keep going back to it again and again. So can you talk about this dynamic a little bit of this, how we play in this field?
Sure. Well, as we know, there's a lot of talk about what it does to our mental health. There's not a lot of talk about what it does to our souls and the serious spiritual ramifications of overusing social media or having a social media addiction. And so I like to start by saying social media is like money. It has no morality, but it can be used for good or for harm. What really matters is how much time we spend on it, what we look at and share, and our intentions behind it. And every second we spend on social media matters. Seconds become minutes, become hours, become days, become years of our lives. Just a handful of hours on social media can come out to over 6 years of your life. Yeah, and so it's so important for me to put that into perspective. And you have to ask yourself, are you okay with spending 3, 4, 5, 6, some people even up to 10 or more years of their life. Are you okay spending that on social media? And how is it impacting you on a soul level? What is it doing to your heart, to your mind, to your body, and to your soul? And only you can answer that honestly. But the amazing thing is, we don't have to conform to the soul crushing patterns of social media. Jesus always invites us into a more unpopular, but a better way to live. And it's only up to us to decide how we are going to use social media, if at all, and the impact it is going to have on us. So I like to start with saying that.
Yeah. I mean, that 6 years, I just feel like that's a neon highlighted right now. Like 6 years of my life on social media. No, thank you.
Yeah. So, for example, if a young person started using social media at 13 until the age of 80, they would have spent over 11 years of their lives on social media.
If they do 2 hours a day, is what you're saying.
If they do about 4 hours a day, which is very normal. I mean, some
Right.
girls are spending 8-9 hours a day. 15% of teenage girls spend 40 hours or more a week on social media.
Wow. A full-time job. A teenager's full-time job is to consume and put out, perhaps be responding to and communicating. It has been interesting. I have really pulled back on posting on social media because I didn't like how I was feeling when I was trying to decide what to post, and yet I still am like, oh, I still want to go on and see what other people are doing. And so I'm still consuming in a way. I am curious if there is any information about posting versus observing, and kind of how that active element of being involved. Like Krista's really good at commenting on people's stuff. She goes in with intention when she's on social media, and you can see it. Like she's very much the commenter, and I am more of the passive consumer, perhaps. Do you know how that impacts us if we go in with a certain intention, and does it help us set up boundaries for how long we're on it if we go with a particular purpose?
Yeah, that is a great question, Alex. So, as I talked about before, it matters how much time we're on it, what we post at and share, and our intentions behind it. And as we know, God has given us this strong desire to be liked, seen, and known. And we cannot quell that. That is how He made us. It is so important to see, what are my intentions behind it. I know when I first used social media as a young woman, I was using it to find a measure of approval. Was I being accepted? I would post something, I would constantly go back, refresh my screen. How many likes, how many comments? Honestly, it's still a temptation to do that. I mean, these social media companies hired human behavioral psychologists to study how we operate as humans and to prey upon this God-given desire to be liked and seen and known. And it is designed to be addictive. Even if you use it with the intention to show up, to encourage people, this is addictive. And addictions can overtake our lives. So back to your point, if we choose to use it, we have to be very intentional about our use and really check in with our heart. Why do I want to post this photo? What am I looking for? Do I want to show up and bless people and encourage them? Or am I showing up and comparing my life to strangers, acquaintances, and celebrities and walking away feeling like my life is not good enough? I love that verse in Psalm 139. Search me, God, and know my heart, and see if there's any offensive way in me, and lead me into the way everlasting. So we really need to have that heart check-in with God, and God, are my motivations pure? Are my thoughts pure? So that would be my recommendation. Also, one of the worst ways I do think people can use social media is to consume and never engage with people. And as they do, sometimes have a heart of judgment, of judging people, what they're seeing, what they're posting, and not really engaging. So that I think is one of the most damaging ways to engage with social media. And Krista, you do that so well. I feel like every time I post something, which I do it every now and then, is you always say like the sweetest things, and you show up to make people seem loved and known and valued. And like I said, social media can be used for a tremendous amount of good. I'm not here to bash it. So,
Well, for sure. And I think that like that has been an intentional choice for me, that for my own health, like for me to stay healthy, if I can't show up and really come as myself and let me set the temperature of social media instead of letting social media set my temperature, then I don't want to be on it. I don't want to be there. And so I have to, like for my own, even for my own protection, I go with the intention to bless, the intention to encourage, the intention to build real relationship as it was really designed. Like you said, it's like money. It's like a neutral value. It's what we do with it that matters. It was designed to be social. And so if I can't be truly social in the way that I would in person, then I don't want to show up there, because that then is then compromising my character. But it is interesting, Allie, because I think about women in midlife at a time when we're often feeling worse about our appearance, worse about all sorts of things, right? That maybe financially we're struggling because we've got kids in college now, or they're going to be going to college and we're trying to save for that. Or there's just like, it's a high demand season. We've got parents we're taking care of. Also, it's a time where we are understanding that life is finite, that we don't live forever. And maybe life hasn't offered the opportunities that we wanted, or didn't turn out the way we had hoped. I'm thinking of even some friends that I have right now who are facing some life-changing things like divorce and cancer and, all these things. And then we go to social media, and then we see all these young people that are really featured. I've said this before on the podcast, but it's worth repeating that they're saying it's the first time in history where instead of younger people looking to the older people are looking to the younger people because of social media. And that's terrifying. And that somehow we're, lifting up those images and that youth as the end all be all. And then here we are in midlife going, well, now what? Because I'm only getting older and things are seemingly getting harder by the day. So what do we do with that, Allie?
I want to start first by inviting every woman listening to get quiet, to go away to a retreat, get away from your day-to-day schedule, and have a really precious, beautiful time with your Creator and Savior. And ask yourself, what do I want my legacy to be? What do I value? How do I get to the end of my life and say, I did all I could do with the time God gave me? That is the start. Our lives are beautiful, wild, precious, but they are so fleeting. And social media is not a world we were created to live in. And that is why it is making us sick and so unwell and divided and lonely and depressed. It's not the way God intended us to live. I think of our hands, right? Our hands were not created to hold a handheld computer and with the swipe, look at the pictures and images of other people's lives unfold. God gave us our hands to plant flowers into the dirt, to thumb through the pages of a book, to put your hands through a child's hair, point at shooting stars. And God created us for such a beautiful, abundant, wholehearted life. And yeah, there's some good things about social media, but we have to ask ourselves, am I going to let this negatively affect my life? Am I going to let a couple apps on my phone make me sad, anxious, depressed, envious? Because friend, you don't have to. It's time for us to act. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's been enough talk. We all know what it does to us, but we are not victims. We are overcomers in Christ, and He calls us to live differently than the world. And how beautiful it could be if everyone who followed the ways of Jesus practice His ways that lead to peace and fullness of joy. Can you imagine what other people who don't yet know the love of Christ would do to experience life as it was intended to be? And so I just really want to say to your listeners, God didn't have to create you. It's an honor to have a heartbeat and to have breath in your lungs. And you get to decide what you're going to do with your life. And so you don't have to let it make you sad, depressed, lonely. It doesn't have to be that way. God gives us a choice. And what are we going to do with it? And what kind of life are we going to live? And what do we want our legacy to be?
Mm-hmm. So good. It's really good. And I wanted to clarify that a really big part of why I don't post is because I want to post my highlight reel. And I have a life with a lot of highlights.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have beautiful, healthy children, and I feel guilty putting my good out in the world in that capacity. And I don't know that we talk about that enough, but how we post also impacts people. And so we don't have to consume, but we also don't have to engage in any of it. And we often focus in, I think, on the consumption part, but that decision on, Krista mentioned, we might not like how we look as much. I mean, for sure, vanity is playing a part in me not posting too. I don't want to say it's all virtuous, but in all of it, we have a choice. We don't have to engage. And that is so freeing and so good for our souls. And I have found that as I have pulled back, it has been better for me. And for me to ask this question, does this event in my life have more meaning if I post about it? Or is it something that God has just given me and it's for me to enjoy and for my family to enjoy? And so it's been this like weird thing because I still like seeing everybody else's things. I do. I really love it. I love seeing people's stuff, but I have realized for me, for right now, this is how I have had to operate. And so I want to give people freedom to say, there's no right way. It's just this examination of the heart, like you said, of what do I want to be doing with my time and my energy and my attention. And it's a constant struggle for me as I figure it out.
Yeah, definitely. I felt God call me to write this book, Social Media Reset, a 30-day guided journey to unplug, reconnect with God, because I find that we've been looking for a guide, for a solution. And so it's a really beautiful invitation for girls and for women to step aside, to unplug for a while, to come back to God, to examine their hearts. And really, the experience is more of a reset for your soul. And I want every woman to live wide awake for the miracle of her life. I want her to build a life she loves. God wants us to maximize every single gift He gives us. And so I wrote it with this heart to help us live a flourishing and a wholehearted life. So really, it's my heart was for this experience to be like a life coaching experience, where at the end of the 30 days, you are more fully alive, you're more free, you're more excited about your life. You're able to show up with it for more excitement and intentionality and joy. And so that's kind of my heart behind it. And then what's great is, we don't have to re-enter social media the way that we did before. And I share over 15 boundaries that you can implement. And I share my own, but it's really try to really empower people. Is you get to master it. It does not have to master you. It's very difficult though, because it's designed to be addictive. And it does prey upon our God-given desire to be seen, known, and liked. And I'm happy to share what works for me. It's definitely more extreme.
Yeah, give it to us, Allie. I want to hear. Yeah. Tell us.
So first I'll say that I take social media so seriously because I know it affects my mental health. And Alex and Krista, you know my story. I write about it in my book, Wonderfully Made, more in depth. But I battled severe depression that nearly took my life at the age of 18 and again at 21. And God saved my life. I very well could not be here today. And so my life is God's to live. I see every second of my life as sacred. And when you come so close to losing your life, it changes. It changes every day. It changes how you show up. And so I'm grateful for that gift. So when I got social media, it was fun in college, like checking up on what is that old boyfriend doing? Or what are my friends doing? Oh, that girl from junior high. Wow. It was fun for a while, but then I began to use it to try to get attention, approval. When I posted, I became very self-absorbed. I was looking at it all day long, every mundane moment. I went to bed scrolling. I woke up in the middle of the night scrolling, went to the bathroom scrolling. Like, it became a problem. And even when I wasn't on it, I thought about it continuously. And so one day I said, no, this is wasting my life. This is making me feel bummed out. And God, you saved my life. I owe every single day and breath to you. And so I did something radical. I simply deleted all the apps off my phone and I took like a 30-day reset completely. And it completely broke that addiction. It healed my heart, my mind, my soul. And so I have not had any social media apps on my phone for over 12 years. And what I do is I keep them on my iPad, which I'm not going to carry around with me to the toilet or like to the grocery store or the car. And so what I do, it works for me. Not everyone has to do this, but if I want to share, I post it later on, not in present time. I'm very intentional about who I follow. God has given a spirit of discipline. Right? We can actually have boundaries. We can be disciplined. I don't look at it in the morning or the evening. I never go on it on the weekends. I'm very intentional about what I look at, who I follow. And for me, I really don't like being on it more than maybe like 20 minutes a week, and I'll go days without posting. That's my approach, but I share 15 different boundaries that people can implement in their own lives. So
those are helpful handholds, Allie. I appreciate that. And I have my own, because I agree with you. Like, we can be disciplined about this and we can have disciplines. And in some ways, I know some personalities are more prone to that than others, but it has served me well. I am a little bit more disciplined by nature, but it serves me well because it helps keep my soul in check with it. And I see that. I see the compound interest of that over time because I have certain boundaries around what I post, when I'm on social media, when I'm not, weekends, all of that, Sundays. And so let's talk a little bit about fasting in particular, because even if I have boundaries, even if I have things already set up in my life around it, I still may need a fast. What does a fast do that maybe our everyday boundaries don't?
Yeah. So just a few days or even a week off social media, research has found that it instantly increases happiness, decreases anxiety, depression. And so a 30-day reset or detox, which I walk girls and women through in my book, it allows their brains to heal from any addiction, to reset the brain's pathways and really experience the full benefits of unplugging. And really, it's about living wide awake to your own life and to the people you love most. And so even 0 to 3 weeks, you're going to start to, if you have an addiction, if you overuse it, you're compulsively checking it, you're going to experience some withdrawal symptoms. You're going to be urged to check it. Your brain is still going to be craving those dopamine hits, which social media gives you. And so 0 to 3 weeks can still even be difficult. But from around 3 to 4 to 6 weeks, what happens is our neural pathways that are tied to compulsively checking it start to weaken and our mental clarity improves, and you'll probably notice more focus, better sleep. Your mood's going to be better. You're going to have a lot more calm, less stress. You're also going to have new coping mechanisms. So when you feel tempted to tap that app, you're maybe going to go read a book or garden or go on a walk, which is really a big part of the reset that I really want women to do. And I actually have a list of 75 different things you can do instead of being on social media. But the ideal time is actually 90 days. So you can go through the book 3 times. And then on top of that, that's really going to help you really reset your heart, your brain. It's going to heal. You're just going to feel, if you've been overusing it and it really has been affecting you negatively, you're just not going to be the same person. You're not, I promise you. I never have one woman go off a week, 2 weeks, a month and say, oh, that was like the worst thing. Everyone was like, I can't believe how much better I feel. And then the ideal experience for a reset is not to do it alone, but to invite all of your friends, your daughters, actually all the women in your church. I produced a teaching series with Right Now Media, and it is going to walk women in entire churches to go off social media simultaneously and to go through the book and then watch the teaching series and invite them to create true in-person community, to have hikes together, meals together, to have an intentional time to experience life as God created it. And so I'm hoping that as like thousands of women will get on board. And another thing that I'm hoping this will be an opportunity for is our girls. Their lives have been ruined by social media. Today, 1 in 3 teen girls are seriously contemplating attempting suicide. When I was in that place, I never knew one girl who was also that way. The suicide rate among girls has gone up over 150% since social media came out. This is happening on our watch, and as women of faith, we should say no more. So we're inviting, my publisher, Right Now Media, myself, are inviting your listeners, your friends, your church to do this together. And as we do, to intercede and to pray for the next generation of girls who are experiencing so much anxiety, depression, gender identity confusion, bullying, thoughts of suicide. It's time for us to act. It's time to say no more. No more. We're not going to let it steal our joy. We're not going to let it potentially hurt our girls or boys. It's time. I just feel like it's time. Everybody's talking about it, but I believe that God gave me this book because it's a solution, and it is time for us to act. So I'm getting a little.
It fires me up, Allie. No, I get so fired up, and it reminds me of like when you're in a town and the alarms start going off, like to go into a shelter warning, like you got to get to shelter because there's a tornado coming or a hurricane or whatever. But the alarms and I feel like in some ways, and this is where the anxious generation was helpful in this as well. But in some ways, it's like we all have those noise canceling headphones on and we're not hearing the alarms. It's like the alarms are going off and somehow we're like totally oblivious and like going to buy groceries and, oh, hey, I'm just going to go get my coffee. I love your wake up call. And I'm so happy to hear that you're doing something with Right Now Media and calling churches and kind of the larger gathering of people, because we've got to take the headphones off. The alarms are already going off and we've got to do something. Yeah. So well done, Allie.
No, this has to be a movement. It should not just be us. I don't write books to make a lot of money. I mean, I've been in ministry. I was like less than unemployment, right? God gave me this. I write because I want to see lives transformed. And I know this book was from God. I don't know. It's like supernatural, but I believe he gave us, this is our time to grab all the women you love. I'm actually hoping to write an article soon saying why the global church needs a social media fast. Imagine all believers, churches all over the world going off Instagram together for 30 days and loving people and serving people and being in the scriptures and being outside. Can you imagine how different our world would be? And then to invite our neighbors and our friends to see the goodness of God. This has to happen. Our lives are so short, and it just keeps us in spiritual slumber. You know, the average person checks their phone 100, even 300 times a day, missing holy and sacred times to look up to God away from our screens and say, God, thank you for the gift of another day. Thank you for your goodness, your faithfulness. But here we are, looking at DMing other people when we're not even conversing with the God who created us. Like, The time is now. And so it really is my prayer and hope that it can almost be like a time of revival and a time for us to restore our souls and also be used by God to, help other people be saved by God.
I'm thinking about that mom who is like, okay, I don't know how to pull back because I have maybe let the reins go out too far.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 4 daughters. Social media was not new, but Instagram was kind of new when my oldest daughter asked for it. So we gave it to her because everybody else was doing it. And then with each child, we've been stricter as far as what they have access to when, because we have more information, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for that mom who feels like, ooh, I kind of want to pull back. How do I pull back the reins? Would doing the fast together be one suggestion you have? Like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
let's try this together. Let's do it for 30 days, you and me. Are there other things that you suggest that moms or parents can do if they feel like I have let it get out of control and now I need to help with those boundaries?
Yeah. Can I have you come back to that question? Hold
Yes.
on that question, because there's one thing I really want to share, because this is wild, talking about putting it in perspective. We can now die because of social media with more memories of other people's lives than of our own. If the average woman spends 2 hours, 20 minutes a day scrolling social media at about 2 seconds a post, 2 seconds on a photo, a video, actually, a lot of times it's like a split second. Let's be honest. It's like a tenth of a second. Okay. That would come out to the low end of seeing 4,200 images or posts a day. That comes out to 1.5 million images a year, often of other people's lives. And to bring it home closer for the moms, you can now die with more memories of other people's kids than of your own, because when we see online images, they evoke stronger emotional responses, social comparisons, and they make them more memorable than real life moments. So one thing I encourage parents to do is, okay, don't go on social media as much, be intentional with who you're following, but get a digital family photo album. You can put it on, Amazon Alexa. You can put it on your TV. You can buy a digital frame so that you die with precious moments of your life, of your kids' lives. I mean, this is serious. Can you imagine getting to the end of your life and thinking, like, trying to picture some of the most beautiful moments of your kids, but they're like fuzzy? This was confirmed for me when I didn't know what I did like 2 days ago or the day before, but I vividly remembered my friend's daughter wearing a polka dot dress with red sparkly shoes watching the penguins at the zoo. Like, this is serious, right? So I want to come back to your question, but I just had to share that.
Okay. So, Allie, that is so true, because when I think about my kids, I always do a video for every trip that we take. And it's like they remember the video more than they remember the vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially when they were younger, like if we took a trip when they were 11 and 13 and 15, they remember the video of the trip more than they remember the moments of the actual trip. So that is fascinating what you just said. And it's true. Like, as we talk about memories, they say, remember in that video when so-and-so did this. So that's interesting. The other phrase that you said that I really latched onto was holy slumber. And I just want to camp there for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you said it puts us in a holy slumber, and I love that phrase, and I'm going to carry that with me. I don't want to be in a holy slumber. And to think that social media kind of puts me there, that motivates me. So thank you for that term, because I really like that. Okay, go back to Alex's question.
Yeah, well, first, I really do recommend, you don't even have to read my book. I just really recommend that you do take 30 days off, whether or not your daughter's going to do it. You are going to experience more joy. You are going to experience more gratitude in your life. And remember, your kids are watching you. Also, I want to talk about the concept called phubbing. It combines the word phone plus nubbing. It's where you put your device or your phone and you give it more attention than you do the people in your life. And phubbing has actually become a serious issue in marriages and relationships. Over 23% say it's an issue in their marriage, and it is very damaging to kids. It even causes behavioral issues. It makes them feel lonely, rejected. So that is another huge thing to consider is, are we phubbing our kids? Are we phubbing the people in our lives?
Wait, so phubbing is phone and snubbing?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
I've never heard that term. That's a new
Mhm.
term for me. Have you, Alex?
No, but I'm thinking about in our home, we have kind of built a culture of if someone's doing it, we call it out. Like that's one way we have tried to fight it is I'm texting somebody about carpool, whatever, and then because my phone is there, then that just, it's so easy to go start looking at something else. And someone's talking to me over here and I'm dialed into the phone. So, I mean,
Mhm.
I for sure do it. But what
Mhm.
we try to do is to combat it by calling each other out in it, which is recognizing then that it's happening. And then we can actively put the phone down and say, you're
Mhm.
right. I wasn't giving you my full attention. Tell me
Mhm.
again what you just said. And that's not putting our phones away forever. It's just trying to figure out ways within our family structure that we can manage it and name it so that it doesn't have control, that we have control over the devices, even when we get tempted and pulled away.
A really fun game you can do with your family, especially on the weekends, is to have a contest to see who has the fewest phone pickups over the weekend. And that person gets a really exciting prize. And it becomes like a competition. I love on my weekends, I try to get like under 10 phone pickups a day. And for me, the ideal weekend is like I'm outside and I actually have to pee in nature like 3 times. Like, and I'm not on my phone. Like, that is like my ideal weekend. But yeah, Alex, back to your question is first modeling for your kids like a better life offline, and then really showing your kids and like giving them a beautiful life offline. Go camping, play board games, take road trips, create a beautiful, welcoming home where your kids feel welcomed and you're doing fun things off your phone. Because when we get a taste of how beautiful life can be when we aren't tethered to our devices, we're going to want the real thing. We're going to want real life, real joy, real peace. And another thing is, if you have kids, think about the activities that they love to do offline that they just enjoy the most and invest in those. And they're just going to want to be out in the real world, talking to real people face to face, and it's going to lose its appeal. One of the exciting things I just learned, there was an article in Newsweek, a lot of Gen Zers young people are starting to, now it's like a social status of like, if you're cool or not, either not to be online or to have a private account. So this is really exciting. The tides could change. Who knows? Is it going to be a trend to be like off your phone as little as possible? I'm hoping that it will. I'm hoping the tides will turn.
Well, I know the other day I was with some young 20 somethings, and one of them said to the other one, "Hey, hang up and hang out." And I was like, "Okay, I love that term. Hang up and hang out. That's what I'm doing." They are actually calling each other out, and they are waking up to it, and they are asking each other to be present.
Yeah, a lot of them are angry. A lot of them have gotten older and are mad because they saw that they were depressed, anxious, have eating disorders because of social media. A lot of them are angry and they're sad that they missed out on so much of their lives. And so I do really hope and I believe that we're going to actually have a cultural shift, especially when adults do it as well.
Yeah, I do think that there was a space, and I talked about my oldest daughter, a space of kids that we didn't know what we didn't know as parents. And so a lot of those kids are now young adults. But for the younger kids coming up, I think parents and kids are much more aware. And so the pendulum is swinging. I really do think it is. As I hear, because I'm still in conversations with parents that are talking about how old should a child be when they get their first phone? Like, I'm still in that peer group a little bit of parenting, and the conversations are much different now than they were 10 years ago.
Can I give a suggestion on that?
Yes.
Okay. So I do recommend parents read The Anxious Generation, and he has excellent recommendations on how to handle social media. I agree with him. I think the earliest they should begin to use social media is 16 for many reasons he explains. There is a wonderful phone company called the Gab phone. I'm sure you probably know of it, many parents. So ideally you give your kids something like that where, has GPS, they can take photos, listen to music, but it has no ability to connect to the internet. The ideal situation is you get your child's friends all on board. So as many of them as possible have the same kind of phone. And then you go show them an awesome life out in the real world. That is the ideal situation, because a lot of times I think you're right, Alex, because it is new. Parents feel like, oh, well, I had to do it because everyone else is doing it. Well, no, you don't.
Well, Allie, go get them. Go take the world by storm. I am so for you in this. This is such an important and timely message. I love it. And you are the right person for it. And I think your story makes it very powerful too. What would be your final words, your final charge to people?
What will it take for you to get to the end of your life and say that you did all you could do with the time God gave you? What do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to do with every sacred second God gives you? And who do you want to become?
Thank you, Allie.